Welcome to episode 9 of this DP Animation Maker series. Today I will show you how I animate a futuristic desert world image, share some Photoshop tips, and provide animation tips to create something like the video you see here. It all started with a photo I generated using AI with Comfy UI and the FluxDev model using the long prompt you see here, which was also generated with ChatGPT. It took a few tries to get it just right, and this is the version I chose. Then I opened the image in Photoshop. I like to use the remove tool to fix some small mistakes that AI sometimes makes. I zoom in and look for areas that I can improve or remove. You just paint over the area, undo if you don't like it, and try again. There are more complex areas where it might not work, and in that case you can make a selection and use generative fill. If the area is empty, it will remove that element. If you add text, you can choose what you want there. I asked for a rustic metallic bolt, but I think I had a rivet in mind, but couldn't find the word when I recorded. You get 3 versions to choose from, and you can generate again if you don't like any of them. I'll stick with this one. You can flatten the image to apply the change. I'll remove a few more things. There's this shape here that doesn't make much sense, so I'm trying to remove it. And don't forget the reflection if you want it to be accurate. Once you're happy, you can decide which part you want to animate. I want to have a background and a foreground so I can place objects behind the robot in the background, like smoke or a car passing by or anything really. Plus, I can animate with brushes without moving the background. So I'll use different selection tools like the object selection tool to select the bottom part with the robot, the palm tree, and the foreground. You can use this button to add new selections to the current one so I can select more objects. If some areas don't work with the object selection, I add the selection manually with the lasso tool. I switch back to the object selection to grab the palm tree. It looks okay, but I'm still missing the bottom right part. The ground is fairly straight, so I'll use a rectangle to add to the selection and make sure all the parts I want are selected. Then I click on Layer Mask and I have a transparent background. It's missing a part of the wooden pole, so I can use black or white brushes to add or remove from that mask until it looks right. I also have a broken cable here, but I don't need it, so I'll remove it. A few more fixes on these cables, and I think it looks good enough for now. What I like to do is remove the objects from the background that I want to animate. If I animate it as it is, the background will move, and I don't want the robot to be visible behind it. By holding Control and clicking on the mask, I can reload the selection. Then I select the background and expand the selection a little to make it bigger. After that, I click on the Generative Fill button, don't add any prompt, and click Generate. I wait for it to finish, and I get a simple background now. I can choose from different versions. If I make the robot visible, you can see it matches perfectly, so I can move it as I want, and the background will still look good. Now, all that's left is to save the background as a JPG image. Then, for the robot, I save it as a PNG image because it supports transparency. Now, we can animate it in DP Animation Maker. Go to Change Background and select the background image, which is static and cannot be moved. Next, go to Import, click on Open Image, and select the robot with the transparent background. Click Continue, and from the animation template, select Still Object. Then click Finish Import. Now you can see the robot layer is on top of our background. You can split your scene into different layers to make it easier to animate. Let me save the project since I always forget to do that. Now, let's start animating. Go to the Brush tool, select the water brush, and then click Apply Selected Animation and close the window. This will add a new layer, and now with the brush you can animate the water. Zoom in using the mouse wheel. You can also use the navigator window to help you navigate while zooming. Adjust the brush size and start painting. Now remember that all the brushes work on the background layer. If I go to the settings, you'll see what's going on, and if I hide the robot layer, you can see it's trying to animate the background, which is why it had that color. So you need to change it from animating the background only to animating the whole scene. Now we have some animation in the water. Adjust the size and start painting the entire area where there's water. Take your time. It can be relaxing to bring the water movement to life. When you're happy with it, go to the settings and play with different options to make it look how you want. Depending on the water, whether it's close, a lake, or the sea, it will move differently, and you can try to replicate that movement. You can change the direction you want the water to move. I imagine there's wind coming from the left, so the water will move to the right. Now let's move on to the next object, the palm tree, for example. Go to animated brushes again, and this time select the bend brush, then apply the animation. Now, go to the effects center and move the pivot point to where you want the rotation to happen, basically where the pivot should be. Since it's on a transparent background, when it moves, it won't affect the rocks behind it. Now, go to the brush settings, make it larger, and paint over the palm tree. Again, you'll see it's moving the background, and I don't want that. So, go to the settings. This time, I will select previous layer because I only want the tree to move, not the background. Now, it's not moving because the previous layer isn't the one with the palm tree, but the water brush. I'll use the arrows to move it down, and now we can see the movement. Next, let's change the type from soft to wind-like because we want it to look like it's blowing in the wind, more random, not constant motion. Make sure to paint a larger area to include the edges of the palm tree as far as the movement goes. I'll reduce the amplitude so it doesn't move too far left and right. You can play with the bend and speed until it looks right. Okay, that looks good. Let's move on to the next one. Click on Constructor, then go to Templates. Scroll down and select Vortex. Click on Load Template, then close the window. You'll get this vortex effect. Go to the Origin tab, and now you can move it wherever you want. I want it on the robot to look like it's harnessing energy that will flow through cables to that little house. You can adjust the rings, which represent the radius for the inner and outer circles. You also have the option to position it how you like. Next, go to the Motion tab, and here you can change the direction of the rotation, speed, and other settings. In the Style tab, you have the option to change the color. Try different colors to see what effects you can create. You can really do all kinds of effects like magic, portals, and so on. You can change the texture to a different line and also adjust the dynamics to make it look different. So play around and see what effects you can invent. You can also enable glow and change the blending type. Try different colors and brightness. You can even change the particle to add extra elements to the effect. The default is blank, but you can try different images from here or even load your own images to create cool effects. I played around with a few more settings. It's like having a new toy and experimenting to see what it can do. After taking a pause, I ended up with these colors. I also somehow deleted the water brush by mistake, but I'll realize that later in the video. Let's add an animated object and search for Smoke version 2. Then click Apply Selected Animation and close the window. This will add a smoke generator to the scene. I will adjust the wind so the smoke direction goes to the right. Then I can move the point where I want the smoke to come from. In the Color Properties tab, you can adjust the color. I want dark smoke to fit better with the scene. You can use this kind of smoke behind the robot, like a broken robot with dark smoke coming out, or when the exhaust is behind and not visible. Next, you can play with width, height, or density to make it look how you want. I'll move it here so it looks like it's coming from that point, and I'll use the arrow to move it behind the robot. Because of the perspective, this will make it look more natural. I'll go with these settings for now. I will add the project files and images to Discord so you can test and inspect the settings I used. Let's add another animated brush and select the drift brush. With this brush, we can make the robot shake like an engine that is running. I'll make the brush larger and start painting. By default, it's painting the background, so go to the motion properties and change it. I usually pick previous layer, but now I want the vortex and the smoke to move together with the robot, so I selected whole scene in this case. This includes the background, but since I don't have anything important in the top part of the background, it won't look distorted. I want the robot to move up on a smaller distance, so I adjust the amplitude. And since I want it to move faster, I can type in different values and test what works best. Then I paint over the area I want to move, or use the eraser if there's something I don't want to move. Now, the robot is moving up and down like an engine, making it feel more alive. I think I'll set the speed to around 2000. I also need to paint a little more on top to make sure everything moves together. Now it looks better. Let's add another animated object, and this time choose fog. This is a great way to add some atmosphere to the scene. I can use the arrows to move it behind the robot so it looks like it's in the distance. You can also change the area that is affected. I want it only in the middle area. You can adjust the visibility to make it more opaque or more transparent. I want to change the color because I don't want the feel of regular fog. I want it to look more like a sandstorm, so a sand color might work better here. You can also play with the speed and size to get the right effect. You could also use smoke and change the color to achieve a similar result. So there's more than one way to create this effect. And I noticed that a few minutes ago, I accidentally deleted the water effect. So I'm quickly recreating that. Now it looks better. I'm selecting the fog layer, then right-clicking and duplicating it. I use the arrows to move it on top so that now I have some fog in the front as well. I'm adjusting the area where I want the fog. I should have made the speed faster since objects closer to the camera move faster, but I realized that after finishing the recording. You can adjust the color and translucency to fit the scene. Add another animated object and select flight, then apply the animation. This will add some flying birds in the air. A lot of scenes in movies that feature landscapes also include birds flying to make it more interesting. You could move some of the animation behind the rock to create more depth, but it depends on the animation. If I move the birds behind the rock, it will make the rock look smaller in comparison to the birds. I think I'll leave it in this area for now. I think I'll add one more animation and then end the tutorial since I could keep having fun with this all day. Add another animated object and scroll down until you find magic dust. I'll go with version 3. I'll change the direction because all the elements in my scene have wind blowing from left to right. For the color, I'll choose a sand color again to create a dust particle effect. You can play with the count of particles or adjust their size depending on what you need. I think it looks good enough now, so I'll stop and save it. Maybe I'll add some sound effects in CapCut, go to export, and export it as an MP4. Click save. I like to choose the maximum quality. The custom value will take the size of your background. I used a 2K size for this. For length, I'll set it to around 60 seconds and I can repeat it in a loop. Maybe a 3-second transition will work. Click export and wait for it to finish. Remember to check Discord for resources so you can practice or ask questions. And this is the result. My channel isn't monetized for ads yet, so if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and comment to help support the channel. I've also introduced memberships, and super thanks for those who want to help out so I can create more content. Special thanks to Sebastian, the first to subscribe as an AI Titan. Your support means a lot. That's all for today. I'll see you on Discord and have an amazing day.